Hi Laura, this is my video submission for our teacher interviews. Get rid of the glare. First and foremost, I really like that I can do this over a video and talk about my analysis rather than writing it. That's student choice at work, which is really good because I like articulating my opinions verbally rather than writing them down because writing things down is boring to me. So, um, the two people that I interviewed two speech coaches just because those are the people that I have formed the most meaningful connections with in my time in education. So I know that will give me very similar answers. It has given me very similar answers, but they are two very different people in a lot of different respects. So I think I still got a good variety. So the first person I interviewed was Craig Brown. He is the primary director of our speech team here at K-State, and he teaches a lot of communications courses, like freedom of speech courses, and then public speaking. I think he teaches a nonverbal communication class, and then obviously he teaches our speech team. So I interviewed him, and then I also interviewed my high school debate coach, Christine Adams, who obviously teaches high school, and so I got to see both angles from the high school and then the post high school area, which is good because I've been looking into doing post high school stuff. So it was good to see what a day to day life would look like for a post secondary educator. So I will start off with going through the questions that I received, or the answers that I received from my high school speech coach. So I just gave her like 5 or 6 questions because we were doing it online, and I didn't give her the best amount of time. So these answers will be kind of short, but from knowing her for a long time, I think I'll still be able to speak a lot to what she does as a teacher. So my first question I asked her was why she started teaching. So she said, my own coach sent me to our junior high 2 mornings a week to teach debate club during my junior and senior year, and I got hooked. So this really speaks to me because I think I'm having that exact same experience. So when I've done speech and debate all throughout my career, I've had to do a lot of mentoring other students. So, and that's why I want to keep doing it, is because we, as educators, especially secondary and post secondary, have found a type of curriculum that we are really passionate about, and we want to be very focused in it and help others with that. So I really like that answer because I am the same way. I next asked her why she chose the field that we're in, and she said she loved public speaking since her first oratorical contest in 5th grade, and then English certification was necessary as KU required certification in a core area. So I also thought that was really interesting because that's also what I'm doing when I'm doing this secondary ed speech and theater, but also doing history. So she got not only her speech theater ed, but got English as well. And from knowing her, that's provided her a lot of opportunities because when she wasn't able to teach speech, she was able to teach English, which is a job you can find in a lot of places. So I think that was very smart. And of course, she said she just loved public speaking, which speaks to me again because it's nice to know that we have teachers that love what they're doing. So that really meant a lot to me. I then asked her what her values are as a teacher. She responded kindness, respect, and excellence, which I love. I'm really hooking on to that last word of excellence because I think that setting of high expectations for students is so important, because I know a lot of students from my field experience would come in and come to the classroom and just want to do their work and get out. But I think promoting that idea of excellence, that even if you're just reading parts of a book or writing a short essay, that there is a degree of excellence that needs to be attained because that's a part of everything we do. And I always had a teacher tell us, uh, if you're not going to do something the best you can, why do it at all? So I think that value of excellence is something that I would like to continue in my classrooms and like to push my students, especially in the competitive nature that I would be teaching, um, continuing that type of excellence. And then obviously kindness and respect are are so important, especially in debate and public speaking when you are literally face to face with somebody who is going to be arguing against you and going to be, for lack of a better word, coming at you. It's so important to respect other people's opinions, which is one of the reasons I want to do speech and theater education, is because it helps widen your perspective on different types of views and how to listen to them and respond to them respectfully. So, the next question I asked her was how she measured student progress. And she said, individually, and that is tough. Growth over time, preparation, and putting themselves out there are what I look for. That's definitely something that has been mirrored in my field experience right now, is how they're trying to tailor education to each individual student. I mean, what they're trying to do is give students more choice, and to let them have more of a self-paced type of curriculum. And I've seen that working out pretty well. It definitely requires more thoughtful tracking of students, but I think that keeps the teacher more involved anyways. And it lets students not feel as pressured to meet certain deadlines as long as they, in the long run, complete the larger project. And I can definitely see how that plays out in her classroom, because you don't have day by day, week by week deadlines. We have a tournament in 3 weeks. Get there, and you check in on their progress every once in a while. Um, and then just making sure that we see growth and confidence over time. That's all we're looking for public speaking, is just, yeah. I asked her how she handled student discipline, especially with unmotivated students. She responded, I don't have a lot to deal with due to what I teach. Looks, one-on-one chats, and guilt are all very powerful. And she's right. When you're in the debate classroom, a lot of people are there because they want to be. She doesn't teach a whole lot of things that are entry level classes or core classes, which is something that definitely appealed to me, because I like having inherently a group of students that want to be there and are motivated to do that. I asked her what strategies she used to support diverse learners. She said, I vary my expectations of output, set appropriate goals, choose events carefully, and celebrate their milestones. So I think that again goes back to teaching each other individually. I think that is something really powerful, and making sure that there are all different types of learners, and then we have to meet them where they are and help them grow from there. So that was from Christine Adams. I'm next going to talk about my experience with Craig Brown. And I asked him many more questions because I was able to have a personal one-on-one interview with him, which allowed me to ask him many more questions. I first asked him why he taught, and he said he wanted to go to law school, but then got a job teaching speech at a college and decided there was no reason to go to law school because he just liked teaching, so he kind of fell into it. But again, I think it's that he just loves public speaking, and again, we see that with secondary and post-secondary educators just loving what they do and loving their content area and wanting to promote that with others. So I think that's really interesting. I asked him why he chose college over perhaps going into a high school, and he told me that he just doesn't think he's best poised to help high school students, and he likes the certain responsibility that college students are supposed to have by nature. When you get into college, a lot of people say, you know, this is a lot of personal responsibility for you, and if you fail, then you fail. And he likes that little bit more hands-off approach. I asked him what his values are, and he also said things along the line of respect, communication, obviously. He definitely keyed into that idea of respect for the same reason a lot that Christine Adams did, you know, with a public speaking course, especially with, like I said, that course of freedom of speech. You have a lot of different ideas that are coming together, and things that are going to be clashing, and it's teaching us how to have a listening ear and how to respond respectfully, but with what we want to respond with. So I definitely, and self-motivation, he said, was one of his values as well, for his students. I asked him what he expected from his students and what they can expect from him. As far as his expectations for students, again, that self-motivation is really important. He talked about how he is, again, pretty hands-off with the students. and just having them knowing that at this point they've been they've had their hand held a lot throughout the education system, and so he believes that now he wants to just kind of let it go and let kids fail as they might. I'm not exactly sure I agree with this. While I do agree that a degree of hand holding is bad because we want students to build up their initiative and their self motivation. Having just allowing people to fail is a tricky situation because I know having that happen once or twice can really get a student into gear. But if we're just allowing students at any age level to just flunk out, there's a certain step where teachers can get in and can make sure that doesn't happen while still motivating them. And then from what they could expect out of him, he said they can expect him to be knowledgeable about the subject just because he has been teaching it for so long, and he, again, is very passionate about it. They can expect him to be prepared to come to class knowing what's going to happen, and setting good expectations. That's something I've always valued as both an educator and a student, is having very set expectations so that I know what I'm going in with my goal to teach or to learn, and that makes the end goal much clearer and much more successful. I also asked him how he understands his own bias and how this impacts his teaching. Again, we're going into these subjects where a lot of people are going to have different opinions, and he knows that he's not going to agree with everybody. But he also told me a few stories of him getting to sit down and talk to students that he knows aren't going to speak to something that he agrees with, but creating an open and a safe place to be able to talk about that, he said was very important. And I definitely agree with that. Because I know that I have a bias, everybody does, but making sure that there is a safe space to be able to promote those ideas and have that safe clash is really important. And then I asked him finally how he is a lifelong learner and how he improves upon his teaching. And he said that at the collegiate level, there's not as much of an expectation to do that teaching development, at least from his perspective. Maybe it's different in other departments. But he does like to keep up to date on things happening in the world so that he can tailor his examples and his teaching methods to what's current, because he told me that he wouldn't want to use a really old example for something because then students aren't hooked at all. Especially in these classes that can sometimes be kind of dry. He said it's very important to make sure students are latched on to that. But he said he definitely still improves his teaching he said he learns a lot from his students, especially as a speech director. He knows all the different speeches that people are giving, and those speeches are normally over current events. So he said he learns a lot from them, and just from working with them definitely helps him grow as well because he's getting used to all these different new ideas. Yeah, so those were the two interviews that I did. Again, they were fairly similar just because they were in the same content area, but it definitely gave me a really important insight to the difference between high school and college teaching. I think high school, you definitely get a more personal one-on-one connection with a student just inherently because you see them much more often. And then in post-secondary teaching, you are allowed to take a little bit more of a hands-off approach, though some teachers don't. So I think you have a little bit more flexibility there. So that's definitely something that I am personally going to be taking into mind when I graduate, because I think having that realm of post-secondary education is going to be really important to me in making my decision of what I want to do with this education degree, and not just pinpointing myself directly into going into the classroom. And while I'm totally okay with that, and that would be wonderful, again, it's nice to know that there are other options.